A massive blue-skinned monster emerged in the city streets, holding a baby hostage. Sudden intervention came from a man casually dressed in a blue t-shirt and shorts, his face hidden by a white cap. He met the creature's lunge with a devastating strike that slammed the beast into a massive crater. Despite the overwhelming gratitude from the crowd, the hero remained silent and launched himself into the sky. At Con High School, a typical day was interrupted by a lecture on the terrifying nature of natural disasters. In the back of the room, Kang was remarkably fast asleep, despite the classroom noise. A static-filled emergency alert blared over the intercom, announcing a threat near Incheon Port. Kang's hidden earpiece began to vibrate, and he quickly snapped awake to answer the call. A voice named Jury provided him with the exact coordinates of the monster at the port. He pretended to be a regular student to avoid suspicion before heading to the bathroom to change. Meanwhile, a blue monster was terrorizing the industrial area, crushing trucks like soda cans. An older boss stood his ground with a metal pipe to buy his younger coworker time to escape. Just before the metal box could crush the men, Kang arrived in his signature white cap. He shattered a massive shipping container mid-air with a single devastating punch. He casually warned the monster that throwing such large objects was dangerous. Jury reminded him through his earpiece to try and communicate before fighting. The creature was far from interested in a conversation and let out a deafening roar. The beast lunged with sudden speed, catching the hero off guard and forcing him into the air. The force of the impact was so great that Kang was sent skidding across the pavement. He quickly realized that this particular opponent was much faster than its bulky frame suggested. A news helicopter circled high above, broadcasting the fight live to a captivated public. The Inhuman subjugation task force arrived with tanks, but their weapons were useless. The battle at the port grew desperate as the monster used a long spear-like tongue. It grabbed Kang by the ankle and slammed him violently into a shipping container. The military authorized a specialized sniper with a bionic arm to fire an energy projectile. The force of the headshot successfully knocked the beast to the ground temporarily. Kang emerged from the wreckage, casually noting it was lucky the metal container broke his momentum. With the information gathering phase over, he decided to end the threat for good. He delivered a devastating overhead kick that crushed the creature's skull instantly. The resulting explosion of debris and shockwaves rattled even the nearby news helicopters. The monster's body began to convulse and leak a strange, dark substance. Kang remained calm, certain the threat was neutralized, because he felt the brain shatter. High above the wreckage, a mysterious man in a military hat watched the fight for entertainment. Kang's instincts flared as he sensed a new, dangerous presence in the crater. The newcomer was revealed to be a man with long white hair and a malicious grin. He mockingly praised the hero's flashy fighting style, even comparing him to Ketchup Man. Being a massive fan of the show, Kang briefly lost his edge and became visibly flattered. The stranger dropped a bombshell, identifying himself as a superhuman just like Kang. This threat to his peaceful life sent the young hero into a cold, dark rage. He lunged forward with a punch intended to end the confrontation instantly. The emergency alert system blared across Con High School as a potential inhuman threat was detected near Incheon Port. In the back of the classroom, Kang snapped awake as his hidden earpiece began to vibrate with urgent coordinates. He quickly slipped away to the bathroom to transform into his secret identity as the world's strongest protector. Down at the industrial docks, a massive blue monster was already crushing heavy cargo trucks like they were soda cans. Two workers cowered behind a shipping container as the beast loomed over them with murderous intent. Suddenly, Kang dropped from the sky and shattered a flying shipping container with a single, devastating punch. He landed on the cracked pavement and warned the creature that throwing such large objects was dangerous. Through his earpiece, his handler Jury reminded him to try communicating with the beast before engaging in combat. In response to his questions, the monster's skin turned a violent red as it let out a deafening, predatory roar. The beast lunged with such sudden speed that it caught the hero off guard, forcing him into the air. A heavy follow-up kick sent Kang skidding across the pavement, revealing that this opponent was faster than expected. High above, a news helicopter circled the scene, broadcasting the desperate struggle live to a terrified public. Military tanks and railguns arrived at the perimeter, but the captain knew their weapons were useless against such power. The red monster used its spear-like tongue to snare Kang mid-air and slam him into a container. Seeing their hero in trouble, the military authorized a specialized sniper with a bionic arm to take the shot. A high-powered energy projectile struck the monster's head, knocking it to the ground in a cloud of smoke. Lim Kang emerged from the wreckage, casually dusting off his clothes and noting that the metal container broke his fall. Deciding to end the threat for good, he charged forward with such speed that the ground cracked beneath him. He delivered a devastating overhead kick that crushed the creature's skull instantly upon impact. He followed through by slamming the beast into the pavement with enough force to create a massive shockwave. The onlookers and news crews watched in silence as the monster's body began to leak a strange, dark substance. The shadowy energy eventually consumed the remains and exploded, leaving behind nothing but an empty black crater. Lim Kang remained stoic, certain that the threat was neutralized because he had felt the creature's brain shatter. Suddenly, his instincts flared as he sensed a new, overwhelming presence watching from high above the wreckage. High atop a shipping container, a man in a military-style hat and a hooded figure had been watching the entire fight for entertainment. The man in the hat realized that the white-cap hero hadn't even used his full strength yet. He vanished in a blur of motion, appearing on the scanners as an unknown threat moving toward the hero. The newcomer was revealed to be a man with long white hair, black facial markings, and a mocking grin. Lim Kang immediately alerted jury to the presence of a second individual watching from a nearby crane. The stranger, Nan Ji, began the encounter by praising the hero's flashy fighting style and comparing him to a TV superhero. Because Lim Kang was a massive fan of the show, he briefly lost his serious edge and became visibly embarrassed. Jury screamed through the earpiece for him to stop blushing and start interrogating the stranger about his origins. Nanji revealed that he had been tracking the white-cap hero through social media and news broadcasts for a long time. The conversation took a dramatic turn when the stranger identified himself as a superhuman, just like Lim Kang. He revealed that he knew Lim Kang's identity as a high school student and even knew about his handler, Jury. He mockingly threatened to visit Jury's workshop while Lim Kang was busy at school. This threat sent the young hero into a cold, dark rage as the playful atmosphere vanished instantly. Lim Kang vanished in a blur of blinding speed to eliminate the threat to his friend's safety. He lunged forward with a punch intended to end the confrontation instantly, but Nanji managed to catch the blow with a single hand. Despite the raw power of the strike, the stranger survived, mockingly noting that they were in for a long night of destruction. Following the chaotic battle at the port, a heavy silence fell over the wreckage as the survivors processed the mysterious stranger's warning. Far out in the Atlantic Ocean, a massive dark shape glided silently beneath the waves toward a small fishing vessel. A father on board clutched a small penguin doll, dreaming of his daughter's birthday as the sea began to churn violently around him. Suddenly, a gargantuan blue lizard-like Inhuman breached the surface, its massive weight instantly shattering the vessel's hull. The creature, resembling a humanoid chameleon, crushed the fisherman under its clawed foot before turning its predatory gaze toward the horizon. Miles away, the luxury cruise ship SS Opera carried thousands of unsuspecting passengers through the calm waters. In the ship's bridge, the captain detected a cut-off distress signal and ordered an immediate change of course to launch a rescue mission. In Washington, D.C., high-ranking officials were briefed on the crisis, realizing that 3,000 lives were now at the mercy of an aquatic monster. St. Pearl and Galen Withrow arrived at the scene, leaping from a military helicopter to land on the rain-slicked deck of the cruise ship. They were met with a scene of total carnage, with bodies scattered across the deck as the storm intensified around them. To cover more ground, the two superhumans decided to split up, with Pearl heading to the lower cargo bays while Galen moved to the upper levels. As Galen navigated the grand event hall, the scent of blood grew almost suffocatingly thick in the stagnant air. He was startled to see a blonde woman standing in the distance, who looked exactly like his partner, St. Pearl. As he approached, the figure turned to reveal a pale, distorted face and a single glowing red eye. The shape-shifting Inhuman lunged forward, its torso splitting open into a massive toothy maw that aimed for Galen's head. Galen reacted with superhuman reflexes, but he was still caught in a brutal strike that sent him crashing across the floor. He gasped in agony, realizing that the monster's first strike had completely severed his right arm. Despite the shock, the warrior used his remaining hand to tightly wrap his black cloak around the bleeding stump to prevent himself from passing out. Driven by a cold rage, he stood back up and demanded the beast return his limb before entering a desperate close-quarters brawl. The Inhuman fully reverted to its true form, a hulking blue-scaled beast that lunged at the one-armed warrior with primal savagery. Galen realized he needed a weapon, so he activated his power to manipulate the molecular structure of the liquids around him. The spilled wine rose into the air and instantly hardened into razor-sharp crimson crystals that pelted the monster. He then grabbed a shattered glass bottle and fused the remaining liquid into a long crystalline blade of pure energy. The battle raged across the grand hall, with Galen using his superior speed to avoid the monster's crushing blows. His vision began to blur as the massive loss of blood and the constant use of his power pushed him to his physical limit. In a final tactical move, Galen shattered the overhead fire sprinklers, drenching the entire room in water. He activated his ability one last time, turning the falling droplets into thousands of diamond-hard needles that impaled the creature. Believing the threat was neutralized, the exhausted warrior lowered his guard and took a shaky breath. Suddenly, a second, pale-skinned Inhuman emerged from the shadows behind him, moving with silent, lethal speed. Before Galen could even register the new threat, the creature's bladed arms severed his head in a single brutal strike. As his body collapsed to the floor, the crystalline sword shattered, and the grand hall returned to a terrifying stillness. In the command center, James watched in horror as the signal representing Galen suddenly vanished from his monitor. Saint Pearl arrived moments later, her initial shock at seeing her partner's remains quickly transforming into a pure, murderous rage. She exploded forward with a sonic boom, slamming the white monster into the deck and shattering the steel walls of the ship. Saint Pearl fought like a demon, abandoning all tactical restraint as she crushed the monster's limbs with her bare hands. She unleashed a massive, blinding beam of energy that pierced through the hull of the SS Opera, illuminating the night sky. As the last of the Inhumans was obliterated, Pearl stood alone amidst the smoldering wreckage, cradling Galen's severed head with a silent, heavy gaze. James landed the helicopter on the deck, collapsing to his knees as he realized the heavy price they had paid for this victory. Back in Korea, Kang watched the news report of Galen's death, his pride at being compared to a hero now replaced by a chilling realization of mortality. Little did they know, as the ship docked, the remains of the fallen hero were about to vanish, stolen by an unknown force with a far more sinister agenda. The quiet of the morning was shattered when an emergency alert blared across the radio waves, signaling a new crisis at Incheon Airport. Inside a terminal building, Jury frantically searched through his messy bag to find the hero equipment Kang would need for the fight. He realized with a start that in their rush to meet a celebrity, he had only brought a prototype mask and a single earpiece. Without a word, Kang snatched the gear from his hand and vanished into the crowd of panicked travelers fleeing the scene. Seeking a quick disguise, our hero spotted a man on a nearby escalator wearing a crisp white baseball cap. He brushed past the civilian with superhuman speed, swiping the hat so smoothly that the man was left touching his own bare head in confusion. Inside a locked restroom stall, Kang quickly pulled on the stolen cap and secured his black mask to finalize his transformation. Meanwhile, high above the runway, Flight KC-7744 carried the famous Matt Dion toward a landing strip that had become a trap. A massive blue-skinned Inhuman stood directly in the plane's path, letting out a roar that vibrated through the metal hull of the aircraft. The monster launched itself into the air with enough force to crater the runway, striking the plane's wing in a massive explosion of fire and metal. The airliner skidded violently across the asphalt, coming to a halt as smoke and screams filled the cabin interior. Seeing the stationary target, the Inhuman approached the wreckage and hoisted a heavy forklift over its head to finish the survivors. Just as the heavy machinery was about to be hurled, Kang dropped from the sky and shattered the forklift with a single devastating kick. Our hero landed firmly on the asphalt, his white cap pulled low as he stood as a barrier between the monster and the passengers. Inside the smoke-filled cabin, the famous actor Matt Dion watched the scene through a shattered window, his eyes wide with recognition. The blue monster roared and lunged again, but Kang caught its massive fist and slammed the beast into a deep crater. Despite the impact, the hero felt a strange sensation, as if he were striking soft clay rather than a solid biological body. Static crackled in his earpiece as Jury informed him that the entire battle was being broadcast live to the world through hacked cameras. The blue monster's body began to pulsate unnaturally, and dozens of heavy, egg-shaped pods began raining down from the clouds. These pods shattered upon impact, releasing hundreds of miniature clawed Inhumans that immediately swarmed the terminal buildings. Inside the wreckage of the plane, Matt Dion realized he could no longer hide his identity while innocent people were being slaughtered. He punched through the metal hull of the airliner and stepped out onto the runway, radiating an intense purple energy aura. He casually joked about the blue blood on the ground being ketchup, trying to maintain his TV persona even in a real war zone. The main blue monster's back ruptured, and a second red, multi-limbed creature pulled itself out of the host body like a parasite. This new red entity moved with blinding speed, intercepting Lim Kang midair and slamming him into the concrete with a massive explosion. Seeing his partner in trouble, Matt Dion charged forward, his purple energy trail cutting through the swarming hatchlings. Lim Kang emerged from the crater shirtless, his eyes solid white as he entered an unconscious state of pure instinctual combat. In a single second, our hero struck the red monster 7 times, his fists moving so fast they became a blur of motion. The victory was short-lived when a new chilling voice echoed across the tarmac, belonging to a pale, long-haired entity wearing a cloak. This newcomer, identified as Pan, mocked the hero's efforts and casually used telekinetic force to yank the battered red beast into the air. He spoke with total disdain, lecturing the heroes on how humanity is merely an inferior race waiting to be consumed. Fueled by instinct, the unconscious Lim Kang lunged at Pan with a punch intended to shatter the ground beneath them. Matt Dion screamed in a panic and threw himself between them, realizing the white-cap hero was no longer in control of his actions. To stop his allies' rampage, Matt Dion delivered a full power strike that sent Lim Kang hurtling through multiple terminal walls. Matt then turned to face Pan, his purple aura intensifying as he acknowledged it had been years since he used his true strength. Before they could trade blows, a hidden voice called out a command, forcing Pan to halt his aggression and prepare for a retreat. A complex geometric magic circle appeared beneath Pan's feet as he began a teleportation sequence to disappear from the city. He offered a final chilling grin to the heroes below, promising that everyone would die the next time they met. As the portal collapsed, a heavy silence fell over the ruined airport, leaving Matt Dion standing alone amidst the wreckage. Little did they know, as the military arrived, the strange dimensional signatures left behind were only a prelude to a far greater invasion. Following the chaotic events at the airport, the world watched in a state of high alert as dimensional anomalies continued to ripple across the globe. In his messy bedroom, Lim Kang sat hunched over a small, crumpled business card, his brow furrowed in deep contemplation. He recalled the cryptic words of the elderly Master Oh Bang Wan, who had recognized his true nature even without his mask. Realizing he needed answers about his uncontrollable power, he quickly packed a red hoodie and headed toward the rural outskirts of the city. The journey to Mount Yongpo was long and grueling, involving multiple bus transfers and a trek through trackless fields. His handler Jury, hobbling along on crutches with a heavy leg cast, complained loudly about the lack of any nearby convenience stores. As they reached the higher elevations, the air grew thin and cold, signaling their approach to the hidden sanctuary. They finally arrived at the Submu Martial Academy, a collection of traditional tiled roof buildings tucked away in a mountain hollow. Master Oh Bang Wan emerged from the central hall, his casual rags replaced by a sharp black suit that felt strangely out of place. Without a word of greeting, the master led them to a sheer precipice overlooking a violent waterfall. He suddenly grabbed Jury and hurled him over the edge of the cliff, testing Lim Kang's reflexes and resolve. Lim Kang launched himself into the abyss, diving headfirst to catch his friend before he hit the jagged rocks below. He dug his fingers into the stone to slow their descent, the friction sending sparks flying as he brought them to a halt. Climbing back up with Jury on his shoulders, Lim Kang glared at the master, his eyes glowing with a predatory intensity. The master explained that Lim Kang's power remained unbloomed, making him an unstable vessel of infinite energy. He revealed that unless the boy learned to hear every drop of water, his own strength would eventually consume his mind. The first trial began under the frigid waterfall, where Lim Kang was ordered to sit shirtless and meditate for hours. The crushing weight of the water battered his shoulders, testing the limits of his physical and mental fortitude. However, the meditation was frequently interrupted by the boy's massive appetite, as he tried to drink the waterfall itself. Days passed, and the atmosphere around him began to shift as he slowly became one with the mountain forest. Wild animals that usually fled from humans now followed him, drawn to his increasingly harmonious energy. The master watched from the shadows of a tree, noticing that even the puddles seemed to clear a path for the boy's feet. He realized that Lim Kang was not just a warrior, but a potential savior chosen by the world itself. Back at the dojo, Jury was forced into his own form of rehabilitation, chopping endless piles of firewood on his crutches. He complained about the painful acupuncture treatments from the master, comparing himself to a human hedgehog. Despite the harsh training, a deep bond began to form between the master and his newest disciples. The master warned Lim Kang that the intelligent Inhumans were gathering and their leader, Pan, was searching for him. "You must become a sharp blade before the storm arrives," the master declared, his voice echoing through the hall. Training shifted to incensed energy control, where Lim Kang had to break stones without touching them. His body trembled as he tried to channel the overwhelming power into a single, precise point. A rare moment of levity occurred when the other academy students returned, cheering for the white-cap hero. Lim Kang realized that for the first time in his life, he didn't have to hide who he truly was. Suddenly, a messenger from the government arrived at the mountain gate, looking terrified and out of breath. He brought news of a new, inhuman king emerging in the city, one that conventional weapons could not stop. Master Obang Wan stood up, his eyes narrowing as he sensed the shifting tides of the era. "The time for training is over," he announced, handing Lim Kang a newly sewn white cap. Lim Kang donned the cap, the white energy finally beginning to spiral around his frame in a controlled vortex. In a blur of motion, he launched himself from the mountain peak, leaving a massive shockwave behind him. As he raced toward the city, he could feel a presence far greater than any monster he had faced before. Little did he know, deep within the shadows of the academy he just left, a hidden pair of glowing eyes watched him depart with a chilling, predatory hunger. High above the school, the gargantuan pale head of the Babylon Vanisher descends through the clouds like a silent omen of death. 4 heavy inhuman pods slam into the schoolyard with violent force, cratering the concrete and releasing the elite invaders. Students scatter in a state of pure panic as the blue creature Pyongoid begins to liquefy and spread across the pavement. The elite leaders Rafa and Simeon stand amidst the swarming army, commanding the Inhumans to begin a banquet of total destruction. Just as the monsters breach the building, Lim Kang descends from the sky like a white streak of light. He slams into the yard with the force of a meteor, creating an explosion of concrete that sends shockwaves across the entire campus. Our hero stands alone amidst the settling dust, his focused expression visible even without his signature hat. A blue multi-limbed monster lunges from the building's side, but Lim Kang catches its face mid-air and slams it into the pavement. The elite Inhuman Rafa unleashes a deafening roar, releasing a massive red shockwave that traps every student in a horrific mental hallucination. Lim Kang looks down at his hands in a vision of horror, seeing the bloodied bodies of his classmates scattered across the halls. Master Obang Wan streaks into the yard as a blur of white energy, delivering a strike that grazes Rafa and breaks the mental spell. Inside the school, Lim Kang snaps out of the trance and pulls his signature white cap low over his eyes. He promises his crying classmates that he will protect them before vanishing into the corridors to hunt the remaining monsters. In the basketball court, our hero catches the massive Pongoid's tentacles with his bare hands and hurls the creature through the wall. Behemoth finally arrives on the scene, his multi-eyed face twisting into a mocking grin as he steps over the fallen elites. The mysterious Nangi steps from a blue portal, jokingly calling the hero his forbidden love while pinning Behemoth with shadow bands. Behemoth shatters the shadows with raw strength and fires a concentrated beam of energy that levels the surrounding buildings. Lim Kang emerges from a crater, shirtless and eyes glowing, as the air itself begins to distort under his overwhelming energy. The hero and commander collide in a series of high-speed strikes that literally reshape the city skyline with every blow. Behemoth lands a crushing blow that sends Lim Kang hurtling through a skyscraper, leaving him bloodied on the asphalt below. As the monster prepares to deliver the finishing strike, our hero recalls his dream of protecting his found family. A gargantuan pillar of energy erupts from Lim Kang's position, shooting a tornado of light into the sky that dwarfs the entire city. He decimates Behemoth with an unstable surge of power, tearing away the monster's limbs and crushing its face into the earth. With the commander defeated, the energy vortex collapses, and Lim Kang falls into the arms of a frantic, crying jury. Jamal Evan arrives in his white bucket hat, mockingly noting that the situation has finally deviated from the future his associate predicted. Jury hugs Lim Kang's body tightly, refusing to move even when Jamal commands him to step aside. Master Obang Wan steps between them, calling Jamal a jerk for trying to take the hero's body as a prize. A vortex of energy erupts as Jamal summons his elite subordinates, including the scarred Alexander Kalin, to finalize the massacre. The standoff is interrupted when massive stone shields rain from the sky, creating a defensive perimeter around our heroes. The Russian powerhouse Maxim Basilov and his partner Kirillov arrive, declaring that they have chosen to stand with humanity. Basilov engages the elite Kalin in a brutal duel, vowing to beat the memory back into his former friend with every strike. Kirillov targets Jamal directly, unleashing a barrage of translucent energy blades that force the villain into a defensive retreat. Realizing he is outmatched, Jamal commands his team to retreat through a door of coordinates, vanishing into the sky. In the aftermath, a news broadcast reveals the true extent of the damage, identifying Lim Kang as the White Cap to a stunned world. Lim Kang returns to school one final time, only to be told by his teacher that the community has voted for his expulsion due to the danger he brings. Our hero offers a rare, sincere embrace to the man who treated him like a son, thanking him for making him feel truly alive. He walks away from the school gates for the last time, his quiet life as a student officially over as the sun sets behind him. Lim Kang finds a rare flute mushroom in the forest, recalling the cheers of his academy friends and deciding to return to his true home. The members of the Submu Academy welcome him back with open arms, putting the world's strongest hero to work digging up trees. Despite the wars still looming, the Whitecap hero finally finds peace among the family he fought so hard to protect.